Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I'm joined by Rubina. She is a mindfulness-based creative educator, trauma-informed life coach, and breathwork guide. As the founder of Inner Design, we are going to talk about branding to the body today, along with some other topics. Rubina, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. I know we went back and forth and we finally synced our calendars to spend this time
Synced.
together. So thank
We are
you.
synced. So that means it's divine timing for this amazing
Yes.
podcast recording. So I actually want to jump back to your roots. So you were raised in a spiritual family. How did that shape your understanding of creativity and purpose early on?
Yeah. So my family, actually, I was exposed to a lot of different aspects of spirituality very young, which I was very lucky to have. And there was always something trying to speak through me with creativity. And I guess actually it's part of my human design. I find out later on, which we'll talk a little bit about, but it is about that like calling to express, which
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have that feeling that, something higher is wanting to express through them in a creative manner. And so I
Mm,
also, I watched my dad and his hobbies happened to be photography. And he was,
so cool.
always behind the lens, just capturing beautiful moments. And I think I just saw him really lit up. And so that was an example of like when we are creatively expressing our gifts, whatever they might be. And my mom was always into cooking and it was so masterful. So I think that I was lucky to see those avenues, and spirituality was really such a lived experience for us, which
I love that.
is probably that, yeah, influence. Yeah, thank you.
And I respect the fact that your parents were kind of in the spiritual realm because there's a lot of people that growing up that people aren't really in that realm. And it was beautiful that you were able to grow up in that and then able to kind of launch into your own modality trainings, which is amazing. So, what is inner design and how does it differ from traditional approaches to self development or maybe traditional coaching?
Yeah, so Inner Design is a company I started, and it's basically helping people see who they are, who they're here to express, but actually going on that journey of like designing their own life, really figuring out all the parts of them that they might have disassociated from or lost contact from. And so there's different avenues of it. I have life coaching, I'm a
Mm,
breathwork and meditation facilitator. So sometimes it's that avenue or doing yoga, doing somatic experiences, but then also the life coaching aspect with human design, and then creative coaching, actually for a lot of CEOs, entrepreneurs, design agencies, and firms, coming back to giving something a mental health support, like a reset to creatives and agencies has been such a great experience for me and for them, seeing them actually just getting the relief. I mean, who can create on demand all the time, right? We all need a little break. We all need a reset, especially
totally. That is
now.
so, amen. So, talk to us about how you started to incorporate, human design into the already robust services that you're providing, and what does that look like for your clients?
Yeah, so human design was something I came across about actually 18 years ago when I had a very small child, and it was something that was kind of given to me as a practice to look at who is this child. We say we're not born with a map or a guide like as parents, but I felt that human design was a perfect guide for me in
So
that parenting
true.
journey. And so I really
Yeah.
understood energetically, who's this kid? How do they make decisions? How do I communicate to them? How are they communicating to me? And all of that kind of building on this little human, right? Who actually already knew who they were. They already, our soul comes predestined, I think. I mean, we definitely have free will, but then there's that balance with our destiny and the expression of that. And you see it a lot in very young children, all of us, actually, when we were young as well. Sometimes we feel like, oh yeah, I knew myself, and somewhere I got bumped around or I lost contact with it. So I just started to piece together human design, and I started it with parent coaching when,
Okay.
way back when my little, seeing people on in the playground or on the field with my child and other family members and wondering, oh, is this kid this? Is that just like the start of the human design journey was so profound for me. The first, I think, 5 years or so was just
Wow.
studying, learning the knowledge, understanding how do we get access to all of these ancient knowledges, right? The chakra
Mm,
system, I Ching, Kabbalah, they all are part of this together. And what is that speaking? And so that's how I kind of like naturally went into parent coaching. People also wanted to know their kids when I was like, oh, does your kid do this and that? And so I'm a projector. And I do believe that, the founder of human design felt like projectors, this really naturally resonated, and we were here to guide people in the system.
Mm,
And I really experienced that. So I went into training and going past that, the knowledge aspect of it. And that's what really, to me, human design is important. There's so much out there right now. People,
so
they
true.
consider get a reading, and it's really an analysis. So you want to meet an analyst, and it's
Yeah.
not just knowing your design, it's just like, spitting out the factors of what they are and then sitting with it, like expecting other people to acknowledge it or validate it. It's really living your design. And so that's what
Yeah.
started happening for me was, engaging my child and having them, just accepting them for who they were, right?
Yeah.
Encouraging them to live their design also made me turn into that parent that was following my strategy,
Mm,
my right inner authority. And then, besides just wanting to learn and read, just actually take this courageous step to follow your body. It's really here. It's ready to, guide us. And so that was, and it's been a long journey. And I think that,
yeah, of course.
teaching yoga, teaching mindfulness, breath work, teaching in the education system, all along this was a thread and something in the back of my
Mm,
mind that's kind of like, once you start living it, they say that like 7 years, you start to
yeah.
really decondition. And it is a journey. It is a brave journey. It takes time, it takes effort, and we don't give up on ourselves, right?
So,
So
so
just
true.
other people feeling that off of me and wanting to know, hey, what is this? What are you doing? And I want to do this too. It kind of just, it came about naturally. And then now I think with everybody, we have entrepreneurs, CEOs,
Mm,
we have influencers, everybody talks about branding. The market is also moving towards more holistic approaches.
they are.
And I think it's, been a great place for me to offer a safe space for clients for their
Mm.
personal exploration, professional alignment and their creative expression all in one.
So, to further that question, you guide
Yeah.
people through self branding through mindfulness. How does human design play a role in helping someone embody and communicate their true essence?
Yeah. So, I definitely speak about human design as your energetics, like we
Mm,
talked about the ancient
yeah.
knowledges, right? So, just looking at who you were designed to be energetically, how that's living through you, and using that as a little map and finding out, how am I supposed to make decisions? How am I,
Yeah.
here to see things? And I really like using the primary health system, I think, because I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not,
Mm,
but that has been a really key place for myself is like, okay, am I eating right? Am I sleeping right? Am I in the
yeah.
right
So true.
environment? Those basic things, along with breath work, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, all of those things. But like, am I just simply sleeping well? And it's more than it is definitely, let's get our 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, let's turn off the blue light, get off the screens, good sleep hygiene. But it's more understanding like, how is this body, this vehicle, this instrument
Mm.
really designed to sleep? And then can we create those little nuances, that signature and follow it?
So, do you find that maybe people live against their design because of societal conditioning? And how do you help them to come back to alignment?
Yes, I think all of us get subjected to conditioning, and
So true.
energetic conditioning is always the not self. It's always the energy that's open, that's not defined in us, that's living through us, like, passing through us constantly. And some of us, depending on what we have going on in our chart, can feel more susceptible, more sensitive to it. But we're all being impacted by everything. The day shows up, right? And we're like, I had a good day or I had a not so great day. So we
So
already
true.
assign it to that, right? So just it just takes
Right.
an extra beyond the knowledge, an extra step
Mm.
of awareness of, oh yeah, I spent the whole day with this person and they're designed to do this. And I kind of started to align myself to that instead of realigning myself to how do I do this, right? And it
So
can be a
true.
great thing to look at, connection charts to see what we're both bringing. Like, for example, maybe we would look at ours and what we're both bringing to the table and how we energetically create that dance of, interaction.
I
Yeah.
love that idea of looking at connection charts to see how can you play off of one another. Maybe what are some frustrations? What are some positive moments for that? Because you said you're a projector. I'm a manifesting generator. So I know that I have to wait to respond. So it's very interesting in projector. I'm not too familiar with that. So I have to learn more about that to see how we would blend together to be able to work with one another. That is a
Yes.
so when you're working with, like high level leaders, how are they able to incorporate that knowledge to be able to maybe motivate or maybe challenge their team members to, you know, live like I run a doctor's office and we always talk about working people to the highest level of their license. So when you're working with high level leaders, how do you get them to motivate their team to be able to motivate and rise them up as well?
Yeah, I was actually just working with somebody recently, partnering with a project, and they actually use human design in their agency. And they pull everyone's chart and they kind of, align
Wow.
teams of like these were, and I thought this is really fabulous. And I remember learning this, when I was training more than a decade back, that this was really happening a lot in Europe. And I was really grateful to see that happening right here. Of course, I'm on the
Yeah.
West Coast, so it's just like, wow, this is happening here. We've been waiting for this, right? So
Right.
it's, and then it's beyond. Like I do think of myself as a teacher,
Hmm.
but with human design, I feel like it's about leading the other person, guiding them down a path that works for them,
Yeah.
walking through how they will have their own, will just put the overarch of like live and work in their mindful lifestyle, right? Learning to breathe, live some basic skills and techniques, not by principle, but by
Hmm.
practices and creating that into a regiment. Um, yeah.
I love that. So, how do you define, like, actually, let me take it back from this different aspect. So, what are some common signs of creative burnout that your clients experience, and how do you guide them back to clarity?
I think the most common one that we can think about is like creative block. Okay. So I teach some creative writing classes in high school and
Cool.
early college classes as well. And they're always so enlivened at the start of the semester. We have all these ideas and we go over the
Yes.
syllabus, so exciting. And then as the workload starts to pile on for them and all the things that they're doing, I can see that energy kind of wither,
It's like,
and so
oh,
it's okay, we got this creative block, let's
yeah.
start with some breath. And usually, I was trained with breath work and in a more traditional way, understanding the Sanskrit terms, understanding the background of what
Mm,
it is. What does prana mean? We talk about it in yoga and breath work. It is life force energy. It's ki or chi that you hear in other Eastern philosophies.
I love
And
that.
this is running our life, this, and when
Yeah.
it's low, it's impossible to do anything. Forget about being creative. Sometimes rolling out of bed is a challenge, right? And
Yeah.
so, how do we get those things up and going for ourselves individually and then as a team? It's a leader, a CEO has the responsibility to kind of, encourage, motivate, but it's more than that. It's like, how can we actually lift up our energy? There are basic tools. And a lot of times when I teach them, saying, we were never taught these things, not in school, not at home, how to breathe, right? We came, babies
So
breathe. You see
true.
them with their belly breath moving and inflating full breaths. We're conditioned to forget about all that, to lose contact to it. But it's a simple thing. I mean, we're walking around with it under our nose literally every day. So
Yes.
utilizing that, utilizing little tips and skills, and having things in our toolbox that we can access, the drop of the hat, realizing, oh, maybe I ate a lot and I feel like I need a nap, but maybe I can do some energizing breath work that can push me
Right.
through instead of a coffee or instead of whatever it is. So there are
Right.
all kinds of tools.
I love
Absolutely.
that. That's so awesome. So you have a creative reset program and that blends breath, mindfulness, and movement. Can you share what that looks like in practice and why is that so effective for your clients?
Yes. It's a great program. I love it. I've been teaching it for all kinds of creatives in
I
the
love that.
classroom, outside, in the boardrooms, in conference rooms, on Zoom virtually or in person. And it basically is giving us this chance, which sometimes, we can't access meditation to close our eyes.
Right.
So many
Yeah.
thoughts are just going around. And so it is multiple little touch points. So sometimes it will include movement. It definitely includes some breath and meditation, and then some artistic creative expression. Sometimes it's just doodling, such a basic thing. People can get very intimidated. Even people who work in the creative industry see a nice journal or a sketchbook and a fancy pen, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to
Oh
produce,
no.
right? I have to produce on demand, and it looks so intimidating. So I've had that before when people walk into a workshop and they're, wow, you have all these nice drawing pens and a nice watercolor paper. I'm going to do this. It's another thing to do.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
just, I focus on the fact that it's not about the product and not a finished product. It's not the
True.
outcome. I promise I won't even look at them. I say a lot of times, but I end up seeing later on, oh my gosh, these were like really beautiful masterpieces people created. It's just process oriented. To me, creativity has always been about the process.
Mm,
And we are in the process of being human. We're in the process of breathing. We're in the process of doing so many things in our life. Creativity can be part of it. And a lot of people don't think of themselves as creatives, but
so
I think
true.
we all are. It can be something so simple, maybe how we put our coffee on in the morning, or how we make our bed, or whatever it is. It brings us a little bit of joy,
Right.
or a routine, or some structure that we do, and we kind of don't. What's the way to put it? I guess we don't self-validate that this is important. This is a part of me, and this is a creative part of me. I have a cousin,
Yeah.
and her closet, the layout of her closet is so beautiful and creative. It's just like, wow, something should be filmed in here. But it's part of who she is, right? It's her personality, or it's her
Right. Right.
expression. And so we all have access to that. And when we're tired, we don't feel like doing it. So rejuvenating, resting, resetting is important. And the breath is like one of the easiest access points, I would say, to mindfulness, meditation. It's just right there, right? It's always
I love
accessible
that.
to us.
So, how does trauma, even subtle or unacknowledged trauma, block access to our creative expression or personal truth?
Similarly, I know that trauma can itself be a very triggering word. I train for trauma informed care in studios and things like that. So sometimes just the fact that we're going to have a trauma informed training can bring up trauma for people. Just the thought, just the word, it has a heaviness to it, which
Yeah.
natural, right? Which is very natural. And I don't want to dismiss that at all.
Right.
But trauma can be as basic and simple of some stress that hasn't been released. It hasn't been dealt with. It's sitting, it gets stagnant, and then it builds on top of it. Other things build on top of it, daily things. And then, we all need to, again, release something, let it go, move on. And sometimes it doesn't happen naturally. It gets pushed way back. And then it sparks up with something, and it may come out in all kinds of ways. It can come out in a lot of pain, emotional, context. So sorry, did I answer your question? I'm like going on about trauma.
No, I love your answer.
Okay.
Keep talking about it. I mean, I think you probably are a believer that the body keeps the score and that
Yes,
trauma lives within our body. And if we don't take action to acknowledge and move it on, that could cause some issues in our future, such as creativity blocks, or
yes,
like, and for you, like people that may get stuck in their work or stuck in their personal
absolutely.
life. So I love what you're talking,
That's
keep going on
exactly
that
it. Yes,
thread.
yes. That's exactly it. It does. It lives in the body. It's a perfect way. And we all start to experience this. And sometimes it comes out in our expression. It can come out just even in our
Yeah.
verbal expression, right? Something happens in the morning. It doesn't have to be a big traumatizing experience. But for
No.
me,
Yeah.
like, I'm very afraid of spiders. If I come across a spider and it's part of my morning, I get thrown off. And so it triggers.
But
And
it's
there's
true.
there's
It's
an
a
old
trauma.
story.
It
Yes.
scares you, and you're having
Yes.
a physical
I
reaction.
have a reaction.
Absolutely.
And it brings up a very old story when I was little and I was in a space and there was this huge spider and a tropical thing. And I couldn't, whatever it was, right? It seems kind of
Yeah.
silly, but like now, even those little tiny baby spiders sometimes will trigger me. And I do have to take a pause, and I find, oh my gosh, my body's all tight. Like my mind,
It's
that
like,
little 6-year-old Rubina
right.
comes out. It's like, save me, somebody, right? And so it's that. I mean, I really don't like to minimize it, but this is a simple experience that anyone can have. And then it's just kind of
Absolutely.
like taking that pause and taking a moment and then reminding
Yeah.
ourselves, okay, I'm right here right now and nothing is going to happen. I can handle this. There's a tissue paper if I want, or I can open the sliding door and shush it out, or I can just leave it be if I'm not in the mode. But otherwise, what happens is I get thrown off and I'm in a rush. And then,
Right.
I'm in the kitchen and I burn something. And then I get in the car and then, there's all this tension that I'm trying to navigate and so it's just a collection that we
It's so
aren't
true.
able to cope with. And so these are small ways of coping with ourselves, some strategies that we can do, and it does come to something simple as awareness and
Mm.
breath, and then just like, oh my gosh, my belly is all tightened, oh my gosh, even my legs, like just even thinking about the spider starts getting me ready to go into fight or flight, right?
I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing about that because it's true. Like there may be things that people may not think is a big deal. It's a big deal to you,
Yes, yes.
and how does that relate to your body and how does that relate to the interactions you're having with others? And I love that you teach people how to reset and to have awareness in the body and how to not have an explosion on somebody. Because I do think a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have those tools in place and they have these verbal explosions, physical explosions on people that it feels like it comes out of nowhere, but it comes from somewhere.
Exactly, exactly. What happens is like when we talk about trauma and when we teach for it, it's that window of tolerance starts to come in and cave in. And
Yeah.
then it can become even part of personality because it's been built
Mm.
up. And this is something small that I'm talking about, a spider, right?
Yeah,
It's
very small.
definitely not, it's
Absolutely.
definitely not something that put me really into so much danger, but it is a fight or flight response. We
Right.
are here as human animals, right? We do have this instinct that's keeping us safe, keeping us alive. And sometimes we think on the freeway, oh my gosh, this is a matter of life or death. It can be, right? But a lot
Can
of the
be.
times it's not. A lot of the times we're just triggered into that. And simple stresses start to look like something that can activate our fight or flight.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, that's so true. So we kind of touched on this before, but many of your clients are high level leaders. What challenges do they face that may surprise people, especially when it comes to mindfulness and identity?
It's an interesting one. So I think sometimes, again, somebody I work with has been like 25 years in the creative agency and feels like maybe at this point in my career, like I've done so much, I've come so far, and just keeping it going can be one of the stresses, right? I've done it for so
Yeah.
long. Everybody expects me to hold it together or to keep it going and to keep it growing. And, each one of us 25 years ago, when I look back at myself, it's like I was a different person. I had a different amount of energy. It was right now I'm a different person. So giving those, again, coping strategies, those skills, the ability to refresh, revive, reset your life, not so that you can be where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 decades ago, or whatever, but just so you can be the best you that you are right now, right?
So
Whatever it
true.
is, that whatever that looks like. And then all those years of experience gives you so much more besides status. It gives you so much growth, so much development. And so I think that constantly having a chance to recheck in with ourselves is important because we are redefining all the time, right? We're redefining who we are, what we mean to the different places where we are in life, what path we're in. And so
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think from the outside, we think that these established leaders or CEOs, entrepreneurs, they've reached this peak and now it's a plateau. And it's really
True.
never that in humanity. We're always up and down. It can be, small things, it can be big things. Sometimes they are dealing with big life changes,
Mm.
you know, gains or losses, whatever that is. Life is constantly up and down. And the people who we do assign success to, maybe they are at that plateau emotionally or mentally because they're continuing to stay with growth mindset. I think that's a big part of it, is just going, okay, this is what I have now. It's time to make a pivot. It's time for me to, keep working on myself. It's time for me to redevelop this next step, the next stage.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now that's a great answer. And I think you, like you just said, some people, somebody who is maybe not a high level leader, maybe is trying to achieve that, you're putting them up on a pedestal when really we're all on the same level playing field. It's almost people that we get into like compare-itis, like, oh, I want, so I think we get into some of that, when you look at them and really they probably don't have it all together. Everyone goes through
Yeah.
challenges, and I think we assume things just because of how our perception is. Like even in the media with like celebrities or whatnot, you get a false perception of somebody that's probably just not reality. And we get hard
Yeah.
on ourselves. Like, I wonder, like, how would you work with a client? Have you ever worked with a client like that maybe has a major false perception, and you're like, no, we gotta work on that,
Yes.
friend.
Yes, yes. I think that we do expect that and think that it's not a balance, or I'm just going to
Yeah,
go all in on my business and everything's going to be good. No, because you forget your personal life, whatever that looks like, if it's family,
true.
home, but or your personal health, even, right? It gets summed
Yeah.
up into that. So when you really have to constantly balance it and keep moving and keep training, I think, we think of it. I like to think of coaching as training, as like a trainer. You go to the gym
Absolutely.
and you have a personal trainer who shows you, well, these are like the mechanics of the different machines, or these are the different things you can do. I need that. I don't walk into a gym and know, what am I supposed to do on this thing, right?
So true.
How beneficial is this? And what should I be looking at when you put in all these numbers? And it's like,
Right.
we really need that. So we spend time with that, but we forget about actually what it is to be us. And
Right.
so I think that a coach is that trainer that stands next to you while you're on the machine, like of your life, if you will, right? And is like, okay, this setting, this will be
Try
optimum.
this.
I'm looking at you, and let's weigh in and right check in with what's going on. And
That is so important. I think it's really important to check in with yourself, be able to acknowledge that maybe I need a coach, or maybe I need a mentor, or maybe I need, a counselor even to help me through and navigate this current challenge that I'm going through. Like you said, you've been on this journey a long time. I myself have been on this journey a long time, spiritual journey and, personal journey. And I'm grateful that, I just started working with a new mentor as of 2 months ago. And I'm super grateful to have this person in my life. And but I need to tap into myself and be like, okay, if I want to up level or move past this block or move past this mindset that I'm currently in, I need to find some tools to help me navigate through that.
yeah.
And we need to book you to do that.
Yes, yes. And learning to, I mean, simple things, sometimes learning to breathe to
Yes.
optimum. I mean, I love that people are like, it's peak performance, this and that. I'm like, yeah, but it's also just like basic techniques, not principles, like techniques
Yeah.
of how to function. I mean, I think the Sanskrit word, the Hindi words, the sadhana is just like practices. When we think about, oh, I'm going to do my practices, I'm going to get up and do my routine, my ritual, whatever word
Right.
inspires you to do something, put some time into your mind body system that you're walking around in, and then taking that into how you express yourself in the world, whatever it might be. You don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be at the high
Right.
level. Maybe you want to be, and you're sitting at home going like, how do I get there? It is these practices. I just had someone reach out to me. It's like, I don't have, this, I don't have that. And I was like, well, let's see, what do you have? Like, where can we start? And
Right.
whatever the basic things, like you have this body, so let's start there.
So
Right?
true. And I think like, and you may encounter this with a lot of spiritual people. They get out of their body. So a lot of people
Yes.
they don't have the tools to tap into their body and to know, like you said, I might feel tightness in my stomach because of this. And I love the fact that you're teaching people how to tap into the body and to learn, like, no, there's your body is going to tell you exactly what's going on and what you need. And do you find that a lot of people are living outside of their body?
I love
They're in
that
their
you
head.
asked that. Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at the work that you do, your Akashic Angels, and I thought, wow, this is so beautiful. I'm so glad that people are they're talking about it, because
Yeah.
to us in our, in my culture, my parents are from India, we know the Akash. The word Akash means the sky. It references to the ether. And we were taught that knowledge lives in this space,
Right.
right? And so we all have access to it. And,
Right.
but, just moving past seeing it or hearing it, a lot of people, I think, get stuck in that. And we think spiritual life is about this thing that is woo woo and it's above our head. Literally, actually, it can be above your head, but it's about bringing that living part, embodying it, right? Embodied
Yes.
spirituality, embodied experience, because right now we are living in this body, we are using these senses. Why not understand how this integrates where we came from? We all came from that space. That's my
Right.
understanding of it, right? So lining up our actions to these beliefs, actually
Yeah.
putting this belief into an action, I think is really spiritual life. It's not just being in the concept of it being woo, and bringing it into how we make decisions. And I think that human design is a huge, has been a great tool for me. And it's
Absolutely.
a perfect way to figure out how to make good decisions that are embodied, that are about who you are, who is your specific, not just your type, but like going into all the
Yeah.
little nuances, all the things that are defined in you. That, and then I always see that it starts to speak to the person and they start to go, yeah, this is something I always did. Or, I remember being connected to this and getting some point, like you said, disconnected, disembodied. Just
Two
bring it back.
tangents that went off on my mind
Yes.
that when you were answering the question. One, for a spiritual practitioner, and yes, I do work with the Akashic records, but for me, all of our power is within. So, and by tapping into the body, you can tap into source, divine, everything. You're not alone. But you have to tap into the body first and foremost. And
Yes.
then I had a thought, but maybe it's out of the brain now. But that's okay. It'll come back. It'll come back. I'm sure it was a great one. But all of our power is within, and anyone can tap into that power, and anyone can tap into that access. And for me, it's not necessarily like a woo-woo thing. Like spirituality
Yeah.
is like, I'm a registered nurse who runs a doctor's office that is very spiritual, but again, all that power is within. You just have to know the tools to be able to access it. And I do think a lot of people, like when they get into the spiritual path, I found it, it's in the brain. One of our soul's missions, and I don't know if you resonate with this or not, is to have a human experience and to
Yes.
experience senses, to have pleasure, to have excitement, to have sadness, to feel our senses, and to have a beautiful human experience. And to
Yes.
also be okay with being uncomfortable at times, and to be okay with, like, what does this feel like in my body? I'm feeling uncomfortable, and why? And maybe I tap into your services to help me access that and to be able to have a mindfulness practice, go into my human design. I love human design work, and to be able to look at it and be like, well, I'm about to come off the mountain and now I'm a mass, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it gives
Yes.
you touch points too when your time
It
of your,
does.
and I'm like, I'm almost here, guys. So I just love that. I apologize. I went off on a complete tangent there, but
No, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. It's like the difference between, I think, messaging from the mind and then messaging
right.
from your being, right? Your
Right.
being includes your design. It has the energetic,
Yes.
all the different,
All the
aspects of it.
component.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. And before I ask you the last question, it's going to be about human design. If anyone is
Okay.
interested in learning more about you, where is the best place for them to go to?
They can go to my website. It's theinnerdesign.com. I'm also very active on social media, on Instagram. I'm at the official Rubina. I respond to my own messages. There's no bot or whatever. That bothers me sometimes. She's like, am I talking to this actual person? Yes, you can reach out to me. I will actually respond to you. And it's a very easy place to stay in contact. But on my website, theinnerdesign.com, you can also message me there. You can see the programs that are available, events that might be coming up, virtual or local, and as well as everything that I do.
I love that you respond to your own DMs, because sometimes I do
Yes.
agree with you. When you get that bot message, it's like, really? Come on. Like,
Sometimes they're so good. I don't know. I go on these messages and I'm there for like 10 minutes and I'm like, wait a minute, this seems a little
wait.
generic. Or they make a mistake. They're like, wow, that's so great that you're celebrating. And maybe, happy birthday. Oh, it's so great that you're celebrating your birthday. I'm like, no, I was celebrating your birthdays. Now I know that's a bot made a mistake, right?
You're like, mm-mm, your bot needs to
No.
be reprogrammed.
Yes.
And then for our final question, if someone is listening and feeling like they never truly fit in, what could human design reveal to help them feel seen, safe, and whole again?
Yes. It comes from your presence. Really, your presence is your truth. And I would
Mm,
say that human design really gets you to understand your energy and, like I said, the primary health system, how you're eating, how you're sleeping, and start to notice these basic things. They feel disconnected from themselves. That's kind of what you're saying, right? So
right.
I think that really helps them to understand and align who they are. Maybe they're just curious. Maybe people are just, why am I so sensitive energetically? Or why does this
Mm,
person around me bring out something? Or, let me think about it. That's my favorite thing to say. No, please don't think about it from your mind. Like, just drop into your body and feel like, where does that feel like it's a yes or it's a no? Basically our life is made out of small little choices. Every little choice is part of a bigger decision that guides your life to where it is or where it's going.
absolutely.
And why not have that manual to yourself to see what's best for me? And most of the time people are just like, are you psychic? When I'm reading their chart to them or going over some basics, and it's like, no, it's really right here. This was the map of you. This is who
Yeah.
you are energetically. I'm not, it's not, I'm not making up anything, just helping you to uncover who you are in your essence and how
And it
can
does give you
you
great
live to
insight.
that. It
Yeah.
does, yes. Alignment, I think alignment is a
Mm,
huge thing, right? When it's breath work, when it's meditation, yoga, physical alignment, but energetic alignment is really what helps us to resonate with our life and our path or our journey over the performance of what our life is, right? Instead of just being performatory on like work or home life, whatever it might be, right out there.
so, so true. And I think when you tap into the energetics of yourself and your soul, like, I mean, that's where the power is 100%. Like, energy follows intention. And then if you're tapping,
Yes.
getting that extra layer of having that human design and being able to look at it and be like, why am I struggling with this? Well, maybe, oh, this makes sense.
Yes,
I love that.
exactly.
I love that. Well, Rubina, I want to thank you so, so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. This truly has been amazing to connect with you today. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me here.